Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back to Real Estate Confessions, where real estate cultura and generational wealth collide. Today is just the three of us. So, I'm Esme,
My name's Nayeli.
And I'm Rosalind.
and today we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna talk about something that doesn't get talked about a lot in real estate. We're gonna talk about our rental nightmares and eviction realness, which Nayeli and Rosalind are currently dealing with. So we're gonna talk horror tenant eviction notices we've all been through, and we're gonna spill the tea. So, first things first, what is one situation that still haunts you to this day?
Well, it doesn't haunt. Well, maybe it does haunt me. I had a tenant who was my contractor. He did a lot of work for me. He was very good. He looked like he was very responsible. He found me in a time where I had been screwed over by a bunch of contractors. So he said, hey, you know what? I'm going to help you. And he gave me a reasonable price. I trusted him. A month later, once my apartment was ready, he says, hey, you know what? I need a place to stay. Would it be cool if I rent from you? I agreed right away because then I didn't have to look for a tenant. I didn't screen. I did get a deposit, but I didn't screen or do anything else. He stayed with me for like 5 years. So fast forward 5 years. This is a different home from where he started. One of the tenants says, hey, this is a 2-unit property. So the upstairs tenant says, hey, Nayeli, like my gas bill came to $500. Can you please check to see if there's a gas leak? Because this is crazy. I've never had it be this high. So I right away, I was like, oh my God, you're right. What if it is a gas leak? That's terrible. So I went in and I'm like, oh, we called NICOR. NICOR's like, no, there's no gas leak. You're good. So I was said, okay, that's fine. So the next day he calls me again. He says, hey, I checked the meter for the guy downstairs. His meter's off. So I called NICOR. Hey, NICOR, can you tell me who this account is under? And they were like, no, actually, there's no account. And I'm like, well, can you tell me like when the last time this actually had an account? And they were like, yeah, 2 years ago. It was under your name. So this guy didn't have gas for the last 2 years. He had connected himself to the guy upstairs. When I confronted him, he tried to gaslight me. He said, it was like that. It was like that. I had inspection report pictures where it showed that it wasn't like that. I called different contractor and they figured it out. They were like, yeah, he connected himself to it. He wasn't paying me rent. So then I started eviction. And then the guy upstairs, he says, well, I think I should be compensated. So I called the police department. I said, hey, this happened. And can I press charges or can I do something about this? They said, no, you can't do that because you're not the person affected. Your tenant upstairs has to be the one pressing charges. My tenant upstairs was nice. He was also friends with him. So he decided not to press charges. And so I said, if you don't want to press charges, I'm not going to pay for anything because I don't mind if APD says that I have to pay for this, then I will. But if you don't want to press charges because that's your friend, then that's on you. So this guy gave me like the hardest time trying to kick him out. I spent about maybe $2,500 plus the unpaid rent. When he left me with this huge fridge. This is like maybe the size of this room, like long ways. So luckily I called this metal guy. He picked it up for free. I think I had to spend maybe like $1,000 on garbage removal. It's a kind of junk. Plus, the repairs needed to do it. So anyway, long story short, make sure you screen everybody. Even friends, family, because later on I found out that he had been evicted from a different place because he had done shady stuff. And I didn't know about that because I didn't do my due diligence because I was like, oh, I trusted him. He seemed like a good person. And, and honestly, he was to a certain extent. Maybe he was going through a hard time and maybe he was embarrassed to tell me about it. But if he had said, hey, you know what? I'm going through a rough time.
Help me out.
Can you help me out with the gas situation? I would have helped him out. So I lost a friend, a contractor, and a tenant.
Damn.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's still friends with the other tenant that didn't want to press charges.
I think they are friends.
Yeah?
I think they are friends.
Like,
yeah.
hey, I have an extra cuarto. Come over here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but like,
You already fucked him over.
Yeah.
No.
But, that's just, and that's another thing. Like sometimes with tenants, people are living off survival. So that's why you have to have some kind of like moral code with yourself as a landlord where I understand, he did that, he lied to me. He basically like violated my property. but I'm also human, right? So I told him, I'm like, hey, if you had just told me, hey, you know what, I'm going through a hard time, I actually might have even just like paid for the gas bill myself, and I would have just included it with a rent to make sure that it was paid every month. I would have worked with him. But that's the thing, I think some people are embarrassed or for whatever reason. But you know, if you're a tenant, like, talk to your landlord. We are people, and we will find a way to help you if we can. Obviously, if some landlords don't help you, then you also get to decide with what kind of landlord you deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
you were saying about like screening too.
Yeah.
My last one, I trusted because they came from a broker.
Yeah.
So even if like I had other applicants, but I was like, this one seems legit, because no, it was not. Like, still.
But
go
didn't
your-
the broker
He was
give
terrible. He was
Really? That should have been your red flag.
Yeah, I know, and I kind of worked with him. Like, it should have been a red flag. Like, the initial application, they signed like in wrong. Like, even the broker signed the wrong spot. So I was like, I just sent it back. Like, hey, do you mind correcting this? And he was like, oh shit, didn't even notice. Should have been a
Bruh.
red flag. But
Yeah,
it was like a quick turnover. He was just trying to get paid, I think. You know, like.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I had rental clients and we do everything. Like, I have all their documentation, screening, and everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they do ask for it, I'm just like, bro, well, it's right there. But I mean, I understand. So, yeah, we just do it again. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I'm on that.
And I think what I've learned from you now is like, get to know them, like walk with them. You'll get a vibe for them. I didn't do that. I was just like, oh, it's a broker. I trust them. So now I'm be like, let me meet them. I'll go open up for them, or
Yeah.
I'll go, you know.
I learned my lesson. I help clients with their rentals, so I find their tenants for them. The last two that I've allowed another broker to help me buy it, or I'm sorry, rent it, they were bad tenants, and I didn't meet them. So now I almost have to go out of my way to do dual, where I'm representing the tenant and the landlord, which it can be tough because you can't really recommend anything on the price. Like, you just kind of have to just translate from one to
paperwork.
another. Yeah, that you're just basically translating, or you're basically just talking to one person or the other. It's just saying what they said, and that's it. But because then I get to feel them out, and I know like my landlords, like what they want. So now I know how to feel out for their people, what their risk tolerance is, and what they're willing to put up with. So I tell tenants, hey, you know what, this landlord, he doesn't care. Like, I know you have 6 people. This landlord says 5, and that's another thing that I've learned, that having boundaries can help you from so much grief when dealing with tenants. And it's unfortunate because being a good tenant is almost like having good credit. If you're a bad tenant, like, chances are your landlord, your previous landlord, they're gonna tell us, and then, you know, it's gonna close doors for you. So if you want to be shady, like, we are gonna find out. If you do your homework, people are gonna find out. So if you need a place to stay, that's why we have this campaign going, Esme and Rosalind and it's called Buying a Home is Possible for Everyone. Because we want to help people from different backgrounds, people who have bad credit, people who don't have a social, get a home, because then you can prevent all these problems. You don't have to deal with a landlord if you get yourself together to buy a home.
And it's so simple. Just have a simple consultation with us. We'll look at your stuff and we'll set up a plan if you don't qualify now. It's honestly that simple. And a lot of brokers don't want to work with people who don't qualify right now, and they just kind of like, they kind of discourage the people they just interviewed. But no, we're actually here to support you and guide you the right way. Yeah. So I know you already kind of answered this question, but what's something you had to learn the hard way? So obviously, definitely checking their background and income and all of that. But other than that, was there anything else that you learned the hard way?
So be careful of people who need a place to stay tomorrow. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need to find a place to stay, if they're super desperate, it's like, okay, 1, why are you desperate? 2, like, why haven't you found a place? Like, if you're moving too fast, like, why didn't you plan ahead? Usually when you're leaving a rental property and you're leaving on good terms, usually you have a month or 2, because you know you're leaving. Hey, you already told your landlord, you know, it's a clean cut. But if it's not a clean cut, then usually that's when you're trying to get out of there. So if usually when tenants are like in a rush and they're like hounding me down, I slow them down because they chances are something is not okay. And then obviously there's an exception to the rule. Sometimes you do have where landlords will say, hey, yeah, you know what, I'll rent you my house, and then they change their mind or something happens. I've had one where the person was like, oh, their family member needs to move in, so they don't want to rent it out anymore, and now this person already told their previous landlord, hey, I'm moving out. So it's a emergency kind of situation, and those are rare, so you kind of have to do your due diligence.
I wanted to ask, I remember asking you about it before, and you were like, just evict them. Like, I think I need to learn how to cut it, because people didn't respect the lease, right? And you were like, they already don't respect it. It's only going to get worse. Like, just cut it.
Yeah.
And I try to work with
the
them.
pet situation?
Yeah, like someone, or having extra people there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I have to learn how to, like, what do you do when they don't respect your lease or are abiding by rules?
I have this situation now where I have these tenants. I sat outside my rental for 15 minutes and I was just on my phone. But I looked, I saw like this car pull up, another car pull up, and I'm like, okay, that's a lot of cars. And that's a lot of people that I've never seen in my life before. So I have two decisions. I have a decision to make. I say something, right? I can evict them, or I can say, hey, you know what? I want to terminate your lease. So you don't necessarily have to evict them. You can just say, hey, you know what? I want to terminate this lease. You don't have to really give a reason as long as that's on your lease, or, if you're doing month to month, hey, next month is your last month. But I also weigh it out. Like, is this tenant a good tenant? For myself, like, every time you get in a new tenant, you're going to have to come in, paint, clean. Well, if you're a good landlord anyway. I know you slumlords. There's slumlords everywhere. So if you're a good landlord, you're usually going to clean, you're going to paint, you're going to make sure it's in condition. That costs money. So that's why I'm like, if I'm not ready to make the repairs, which sounds awful, right? But if I'm not in a position to do the repairs that I need to, and they're good tenants, they've been paying every month, I usually will have a talk with them and say, hey, the bill usage is higher because on some of my rentals, I have to pay water and sewer. Hey, like, we need to talk about this because I am going to have to increase your rent because that you're the increase in bills. When it comes to pet situations, I know everybody loves pets, but that's something that you have to be respectful of other people, especially when you're in a multi-unit. And especially I think for dogs, not that I want to discriminate against dogs, but dogs are harder to control.
And
they,
and
their size, right? If they're bigger, they're usually like, and it depends on the owner. I've had owners who are really good. They have their dogs trained, but some of them are not. So you kind of have to almost look at like, hey, if you're a front and you told me about your if you're a responsible owner, you're going to tell me about your pet, and you're going to say, hey, I'm willing to do the security deposit because you're a straightforward person. But if you're not a straightforward person and you're going to hide your pet, that means that you're going to probably hide other stuff. So
yeah, how do you deal with people that say they want to ride their security deposit?
So it depends. It depends on the situation. Usually I usually don't mind it myself because I'm ready to take the hit, but I'm also really nice. But you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to let them write out their security deposit. So what
do you do if they write it and then you get there and there's damages that you're going to go against?
So this is another thing. I think a lot of people, when they rent, they're like, they come in and they're like, oh, well, this wasn't like this. Okay, so you had a walkthrough with me in my property, and it didn't, it needed some paint. That's normal wear and tear. That's something that is not really covered by the deposit. It's something that you're taking the risk of renting your property. People live in there. There's wear and tear. That's a given. If something's missing, then, but you also know, right? That's why you should put in your lease that you're going to do walkthroughs, like maybe like once every quarter or every 6 months to see the condition of the home. So before I agree to letting them have the last month's rent as their deposit, I'm going to do a walkthrough and then go from there.
And I think that's also smart because it protects you and you know what condition your home is at. And if you're a good landlord, you'll do those checkups and then fix anything that needs to be fixed.
So. Yeah, for sure. We didn't do walkthroughs, but even the turnover on the last tenant, like, it was definitely more than wear and tear, I would say. Like, these people never once cleaned that stove, and it was just grime on top of grime.
Yeah.
We needed to throw it out, and, so.
Well, and I think what also some landlords don't want to want to accept, or maybe they don't assess, is that the area that you live in, right? So when you are looking at properties to buy, you look at the area, right? If it's like a rundown area and you want to charge like top rent, like even, it's like you kind of have to look at who's going to be renting from you in that area, right? So that's when you buy the property, that's why location is important, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of like, if I wanted to, rent it super high, like I would prefer lower rent with better tenants than higher rent with bad tenants. Okay. So for me, if I have a good tenant, like I will keep the rent like the same for as long as I can. Obviously, if I have to go up, I will, but I would prefer, even if it's just to get a good tenant in there with a good rental history, I'd be willing to give them a discount on the rent.
So you don't raise your rent every year?
I usually don't. I usually do maybe every 2 years. I try to be reasonable, and most of my tenants don't leave. I mean, if they're good with rent. Obviously, if I have somebody who's giving me a hard time, but I usually try to avoid it, just because I think that's one way to give back to the community.
Okay.
Because also, I'm not just a landlord. I'm also, I'm also mom. I'm a daughter, and I worked, fast food restaurants. Like, I understand sometimes you don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
And actually, I was just looking at this article yesterday. So there's, I don't know, have you guys heard of the buy the block back movement? Have you heard of it? Okay, so basically it's like saying, hey, buy the block so that you can keep it in your community. But this person was saying, well, you're buying the block, you're flipping it, and you're increasing it, and you're actually pushing out your people from that said block, so they can't afford to live there. So are you really helping the community?
I think you also have to consider what you're in real estate for. Like, are you running a business? Are you helping the community?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, I think that's a pivotal decision.
That's correct. So if you want to, if you're for profit only, then that's fine. Then just say you're for profit. Don't use the buy the block back hashtag, right? Because you're not in there to help your community, and that's okay. So don't portray yourself as wanting to help your community, because you're really not. You're there for profit, and that's okay. Because you are, this is the question that I posed to this person that I was talking to about. I was like, okay, so where does this money come from then? Like, because when you go and you rehab a place, that is at least, like, depending on the area, or even the materials and everything, like at least $10,000 minimum in like paint, material, labor, just to even get something going. That's okay looking. So where does that money come from? The government doesn't subsidize any of these. You're putting up your own money, your own credit, and that's why I think it's a balance, right? So for me, I've been fortunate enough to be in a situation where I don't have to increase the rent every year, so I don't, but once if a tenant leaves, then I take the opportunity to increase the rent to market rent, because it is a profit. But for me, it's a way to help my community, and it's a way to help people that would normally not have the opportunity. But that's also a problem, because sometimes I am lenient, and I'll tell my tenants, hey, I can help you buy a house. I'm a real estate agent. We can work on your credit. Many of my tenants won't take the opportunity because my rent is cheap. So I almost keep them, and I don't have a problem finding tenants, but in a way, in my attempt to help them, it almost feels like I'm enabling them and maybe even hurting them, because they've, like, most of my tenants, they've been there for 5+ years, because they're comfortable, and I keep them comfortable. So sometimes I tell myself, like, is that really, but at the same time, like, who am I to say, right? If they're paying their rent, none of my business what they do, because
I really want to explore more. Someone was telling me, like, Section 8, right? Like, I've never done it, but that's kind of helping the community. I think you're giving someone the shot of living in a nice area.
I think so. I think as long as Section 8, if you guys don't know, but in Illinois, you can't say, no, I don't accept Section 8. And that's where a lot of landlords are like, you call them and, oh, I don't accept that. No, you can't say that. That's illegal. That's discrimination now. So that is one way to give back to the community. And I talked to a Section 8.
Wait, even if they're not licensed?
What do you mean?
No, to landlords, they don't have to accept Section 8, right?
No, they have to.
Oh, so
What?
yeah, they can't, even if they're not using a broker, they can't say I don't
Discriminate?
take. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, really?
that's
That's illegal.
discrimination.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't know for the longest because when I was renting that, like I got petitions for it, but I looked up what Section 8 would pay in that area, and it was less than I was charging.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, not even worth. I didn't realize that Section 8 would cover that, and then the person would pay the difference, the $400, $500 difference. I was looking at their pay stubs, like, there's no way they could afford this. But if it's subsidized like that, 100%.
Yeah.
So.
And
that might
I
be my
actually
next
talked
route.
to a Section 8 representative, and I said, hey, I want you to help me out here. You know, I have been getting a lot of Section 8 leads. Their credit, like, I don't mind, you know, like the income that's covered by Section 8, but their credit is not good. And I have this landlord who says the credit, and the Section 8 representative said, you know, we can't tell you what your requirements are. So if those are your requirements as far as credit, then if they don't meet them, then you don't have to accept them. But, you know, keep in mind that the government is paying for it regardless of their credit. So you have an opportunity to have like a set paycheck every single month.
Yeah.
But for that, obviously, you have to screen them the same way you would screen everybody else. Otherwise, that would be discriminating, you know.
Oh yeah, I know a lot of landlords that like prefer Section 8 almost because the government's never like you never have to deal with them.
Yeah. Well, right now, a lot of things are changing in the next
Yeah, let's see
and
if
the
we still
political
have-
climate.
yeah.
So who knows? And that's
True.
another thing that we don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Moving on. Would you guys ever rent to your friends and family?
Hell
Why
no.
or why not? Why not?
No, I will
It's like
not
your tia from
anymore.
I see. I currently do, and I see how you say you enable them because I'm like, you grown as hell. Like, go buy a house yourself. You know, like let me rent from you for a little bit. You know.
Yeah.
So
No, I
need to learn.
I stay away from it. You know what? Just to be fair, I'm like, hey, you know what? I understand that, you know, sometimes family does fall into hard times. But I would refer them to somebody else that I know that is renting and say, hey, you screen them appropriately just because I don't want to, I don't want to have.
Nunca quedas bien.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
like I told you with that eviction, that my friendship, my contractor, like I lost that relationship, right? So I don't want to lose that It's like also like almost when you lend people money, right?
Right.
Unless you want to ruin that relationship, like don't lend people money. I don't.
Yeah. So what is one boundary you guys set from day one? Do you just like automatically, hey, like I can't help you, so you just refer them out to someone, or you're just like
I usually tell them
No.
like I don't have anything, and I usually don't because my places stay occupied. Usually my tenants find me a tenant,
okay,
if that makes sense, because I don't like right now. Actually, this person that this property that you went to go see, somebody referred me somebody. So I actually just talked to him before this podcast, and he said, hey, am I approved or not? And I said, hey, you are approved, but I'm going to be straightforward with you. If you don't pay, like I'm just going to evict you. So if you're having a hard time and you need to end your lease earlier than the 12 months, you tell me. Give me a 30-day notice. Don't worry about it. Like as long as the house is in good condition, I'll give you back your full deposit. But I'm telling you right now that if you don't pay me, I am going to evict you. Like, there's no, like, I'm not kidding around. And so I just try to be straightforward with my, how do you say, my requirements are and my, ¿cómo se dice? Mis, your expectations. I
Set the bar.
yeah, I set the bar for my
Straightforward.
expectations. Like I tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm reasonable with you. I want you to be reasonable with me. If you cannot be reasonable, I will also not be reasonable.
Have you ever had anyone like completely fuck up a property? Because I was like saying that, like, should I be a bitch? Do you guys want me to be a bitch? Because I don't want to walk in there and stuff is like messed up, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
I had this one tenant who wanted to fight me, I think.
Oh.
She said pull up. So I think that's what that meant because I actually had to Google it. I'm like,
I
hey,
was
she
with
just said pull up.
Nayeli when that happened, and I was like, yeah, she's gonna fight you. She wants to throw hands.
This was like 2-3 years back. So I was leaving to Egypt. That was
Okay.
like my dream vacation. I was like super excited. And I was supposed to pick up keys because I was going to be gone for 2 weeks. And I told the tenant, hey, I already gave you a month to leave, you know, and are you done? And she said, oh, yeah, it should be done. And I go to the property. It's not done. I'm boarding a flight in like an hour. And I did call her and I'm like, hey, your stuff is still here. Are you leaving or not leaving? And then she just gets super upset. Which I said, you know what? Like, there's no reason for you to get upset. I just asked if you're leaving or not. Or are you taking your stuff? Like, do you want me to throw it away for you? Like, hey, you just tell me what you want to do. And she was upset. She was like, something like, pull up. And I was like, well, I was like, if you want to pull up, like, that's fine. But I'll call the police department because I don't have to fight anybody. And I'm not going to, I'm just letting you know, like, I'm not the type to have to prove anything to anybody. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. So if you do want to pull up, I'm going to pull up with the police department and then we can talk about it then. I don't have a problem, but, and I don't want to get you in trouble either. But I just need you to tell me whether you're leaving or not. Eventually, she just didn't want to take her stuff. And so I ended up just paying, like, somebody to get rid of all this stuff. And that was fine because she could have just said that.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like, I think tenants sometimes think that you're the enemy. And it's like, dude, I'm just a person just like you. If you tell me what, you're going through it, whatever, like, we'll work together. Like,
well, in that sense, it's also like they don't know what they don't know. So what is something you wish tenants knew or understood about the side of real estate and actually owning it? What's something you wish they knew beforehand?
Owning real estate is, we make it look easy, but it's tough. Like, I still have bills.
Yeah,
like,
bills don't stop. Even
for a long time.
If
like,
they don't pay rent, it's not like the mortgage company is going to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and we put money into it. So for me, like, I remember I did a rehab, three units in 1 year. For a whole year after that, the rent was barely, like, covering what I paid to get this property in a position to rent. So they don't know, right? They're just like, oh yeah, where they're living. They assume that you have a ton of money, and it's like, no, you don't. You actually, like, all that stuff costs money. Like, even like doing like right now, I just got a bill for water. It was like $600, $400 for sewer, right? Every other time it's $300, so it doubled. I'm taking the hit, right? Because I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't do anything funny, but like we take a lot more losses than they realized. And it's like, hey, like, how would you like it if I rented from you? And then I did this to you, that wouldn't be acceptable. You would have kicked me out. So that's if I give you grace, I expect if to go both ways, if that makes sense.
Alrighty, so we're in that segment where it's confession time. So it's going back to you guys. What is a horror tenant story you guys have that it's almost fake? Like, it feels fake. You're like, this is unreal. I feel like the one that you have right now is kind of like wild.
It's like back and forth a lot.
It's like there's random people sleeping downstairs. It's not even habitable.
He's like, so we initially rented to, it's like a family. So mom, dad, 2 kids, and one of their primas was staying, like an adult girl. And my tío had gone to the property to fix something, and he was like, there's beds downstairs. There's like 3 beds downstairs. Like, other people are staying there. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I was trying to like figure it out. Like, there's no way. And I went there and it was because it's like one big room when you go into the basement, and then there's another room to get into the laundry room. So I saw the like futons, and the lady was like, oh, he does siding, that her husband does siding. Oh, sometimes the boys stay because it's like a long drive for them to go all the way, but they're not living here. They'll just stay the night, 1 or 2 days, whatever. We didn't go into that room that first time. The second time we had to replace the water heater, whatever. I like asked, oh, you need to get to the laundry room from that other room.
Yeah.
But it's not a bedroom, no egress windows, like it's a basement. And I walk in and there's like botas, there's like fucking art hanging on, like someone is 100% living there full time. Yeah. This isn't staying once in a while, they're living down there.
So they're gaslighting you.
Yeah.
Did you see la cobija del tigre? No,
yeah, literally had a San Marcos blanket, literally. But it's just not inhabitable. So I like talked to them, and they were like, they kept brushing it off, like, oh, they don't stay here, and my prima left, and my brother's coming, and it's just been a lot of back and forth. And so I was like, okay, but like, we're gonna have to raise it. And they had a dog too, so it was on the excuse of the dog to raise the rent. And I pretty much said, like, I'm not gonna micromanage you, like, it's gonna be this, and do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
And then they still didn't pay. So, and they waited till like the last day that like fucking rent was due, and they're like, actually, that's too much. We're just gonna write our deposit. And I was like, 5-day notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had this showing where, so in the city of Aurora, you're not supposed to have people living in the basement.
Yeah.
That's a
Because
law.
radon. Yeah.
Well, not just the radon. You need an egress window, and if it's not zoned for 2-3 unit, then you're not supposed to live in there. So I went to go see this house, and this is why sometimes like I hate landlords, and I'll say that because some of them, they're slumlords.
Yeah.
They are out of pocket. Like, people are so disrespectful. They just really want to make any money however they can. So I saw that the house was occupied. It was a single family home. So they said, okay. I'm like, okay, we look at the basement because that's important. You want to look at the mechanicals in the basement. We go downstairs. The basement is not finished, and this literally still haunts me. And that's the reason why I'm so nice. So I walk into this basement. It's not finished at all. Maybe there's a little bit of drywall in one spot, but the floor is dirt. I walk over. I hear a shower, and then I see a baby in a car seat crying. I see a baby.
Oh my gosh.
I felt so horrible. One, and then two, I walked out right away because I didn't want them to think that I'm like doing anything to their baby or something. I'm assuming the caretaker was in the bathroom taking a shower, and the condition that it was in, there's nobody that should be living like that. There's like literally in the United States of America, nobody should be living like that. And this baby was on the floor of that basement, dirty, and that made me really angry.
Damn.
Because
so what
this
happened?
slumlord, so I mean,
rent out the
there's
basement?
nothing that I could do, like right what. So you know, but landlords do that. They don't care because they're trying to profit, and that's where the bad names for landlords, right? But so that's why for me, I try to run my business like to be the exception.
Yeah.
And just to show the human side, like, yeah, I do want to make money just like everybody else, but I don't want to make it in spite of or like despite people's rights or their
Conditions.
living conditions,
Yeah.
because I think it's just, for me, it's like, it's also bad karma, I feel like.
No, those I definitely told him like if you want to have someone here, like we could put in that window, we could put in a bathroom down here, make it actually habitable, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
they're not trying to pay. Essentially,
Yeah.
I'm sure they were charging that guy rent, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it's tough. It's tough. And
goes both ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
so I guess, so this is a question for you, Esme. Now that you've listened to all our stories, or my stories, do you want to buy a rental property? Do you think that you're prepared to buy a rental property?
Yes and no. I feel like I know a lot of like the back end. But I do have to prepare like to have that extra money in case someone doesn't pay or for whatever reason. Because like you guys mentioned, you still have that mortgage. You still got to pay up.
Yeah.
And the bank don't mess with their money. So yeah, I feel like in that sense, it's like obviously doing my due diligence and like screening in everyone and verifying assets and all of that beforehand. But other than that, it's like if you don't take the risk, then
No risk, no reward.
yeah.
You could definitely do it. Like,
So, and I'm confident because I also
Yeah.
have you guys on my side.
Yeah.
So if anything were to go south,
you just deal with shit as it comes up. Like,
yeah,
Yeah, just
I know we
lawyer
can
up.
handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
lawyer up.
Lower up. That's what it's saying.
We'll get
Lower up.
Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other nuggets you guys want to share before we?
I think I have a nugget. So I think that if you are not emotionally stable, you should not buy real estate for rentals, because I've gotten people who were you saw that the story of that guy here in Plano, where he went, this old guy, he went and he killed this baby because he was Palestinian.
Oh, see, yeah.
Like, and there, that's
That
like
was
that's
crazy.
one story, right? That it made it to the news because the baby unfortunately was killed.
Yeah.
Right. But there are other landlords who do weird stuff to their tenants because they think they can. Right. So and you know what, maybe it's not going to hit the target because they're not going to, people who are not emotionally okay, they're not going to listen to this, but you shouldn't own rentals. Like if you can't handle stress, please do everybody a favor. Don't buy a rental. Can't handle the stress, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. If this episode had you screaming, saying yes or
No.
damn, yeah, that's crazy. Give us a like, comment, and share this with someone who might like this video.
Send it to all your slumlord friends.
And if you have a crazy story, comment it down below. We want to hear it. Or
DM
email it to us.
We'll
Yeah.
have you on.
Bye.
Bye.